I was a hostage. The men who had taken me made a phone call to my husband, who I knew was likely preoccupied with the woman he truly loved. Your wife is in our hands, the gruff voice said into the phone. Bring 10 million if you want her back. From my position on the floor, I could hear my husband's reply through the receiver, his voice a blade of ice that cut through any lingering hope I might have held. She isn't worth that much. Just get rid of her. A wave of despair washed over me, and I closed my eyes, resigning myself to the end. But then, something unexpected happened. The man who had been guarding me suddenly untied the ropes, binding my wrists and ankles. He then offered me a cup of hot tea with an air of profound respect. Miss Lynn, he said, his tone completely changed. The chairman has given his orders. If your husband dared to refuse, we were to dispose of him immediately. The company will be yours to inherit. I took the cup, my hands still trembling from the ordeal. My father? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. The burly man, whose demeanor was now almost servile, nodded. Yes. The chairman called it a stress test. A strange, dark amusement flickered within me. That sounded exactly like my father, the chairman of the Lynn Group. He was a man who operated not on sentiment, but on a cold understanding of profit and human nature. With one phone call, he had engineered a situation that ripped away the comforting facade of my 3-year marriage, exposing the rotten core beneath. And Leo, my husband, had failed the most basic test of loyalty. What do you mean by dispose of? I asked, needing to hear the words. The man drew a finger across his throat in a grim, unmistakable gesture. The chairman said a heartless, ungrateful man like that would only cause problems for you down the line. I considered it for a moment before shaking my head. No, that won't be necessary. Leave him to me. I want to be the one to watch him lose everything he has worked so desperately to gain. The man, who I now recognized as Mr. Wang, my father's head of security, personally drove me home. The house was a riverside villa in a prime downtown location, a wedding gift from my father. It was our marital home, yet the deed was solely in my name, another one of his strategic precautions. As the car pulled up to the gate, I hesitated. Mr. Wang caught my eye in the rearview mirror. Miss, if there is anything at all you need, you only have to ask. Mr. Wang, I said, besides you and me, who is aware of what happened today? Only a handful of my most trusted men. I will report the outcome directly to the chairman, he assured me. Good, I nodded. As far as anyone else is concerned, today never happened. I may need your assistance again soon. It would be my honor to serve you, Miss Lynn, he replied formally. I stepped out of the car and used my fingerprint to unlock the front door. The living room was brightly lit, and the scene that greeted me erased any doubt I might have had. My husband, Leo, was holding another woman in his arms on our sofa. That woman was my younger sister, Lily. She was wearing my favorite silk nightgown, her hair artfully disheveled, and her face streaked with tears, a picture of delicate distress. Leo was comforting her, murmuring softly in her ear. It's all right, Lily. I'm here. Don't be afraid. The air was thick with a cloying intimacy that I had never shared with him. The nightgown, which I had always loved, now looked like a trophy on her, a flag of her victory. When they saw me standing in the doorway, they jumped apart as if startled. A flash of panic crossed Leo's face before he quickly regained his composure. He stood and walked toward me, his expression shifting into one of mild reproach. Clara, where have you been? We couldn't reach you on your phone. I looked at him, this man who, only an hour ago, had condemned me to death. Now he was playing the part of the concerned husband. The absurdity was staggering. I had some business to attend to, so I went out for a while, I said, my voice flat and calm. Lily approached me timidly, her eyes red and puffy as she took my arm. Sister, please don't be upset with Leo. He was just so worried about you. We were about to go crazy when you didn't answer your phone. She'd always been this way, mastering the art of the victim. Her apparent vulnerability could make even the most egregious actions seem like understandable mistakes. I remembered it from our childhood. When she broke our mother's favorite vase, she would cry and insist I had pushed her. When she misplaced our father's important files, she would sob that she only lost them because I had sent her to fetch a notebook. Each time, my parents would turn on me. You're the older sister. Why can't you be more accommodating? I pulled my arm away from her grasp and fixed my gaze on Leo. So you were worried about me? Of course, Leo said with a frown. Where did you go without a word? Do you have any idea how frantic I was? Then why did you tell the kidnappers to just kill me? My question, though spoken softly, landed with the force of a bomb in the quiet room. Leo's face turned a deathly shade of white. What are you talking about? He stammered, his voice trembling. What kidnappers? What do you mean, kill you? Lily's eyes widened in a performance of pure innocence. Sister, you must be mistaken. Leo has been here with me the entire time. A small, cold smile touched my lips. I reached into my bag, pulled out my phone, and pressed the play button. The recording, which Mr. Wang had discreetly made, filled the room. Your wife is in our hands. Bring 10 million to get her back. She isn't worth that much. Just get rid of her. Leo's merciless, icy voice echoed off the walls. His face went from white to a sickly gray. Lily was equally stunned, her mouth hanging open as she stared, speechless. Now, I said, looking directly at him, do you need me to play it again? He opened his mouth, searching for a defense, but nothing came out. The recording was undeniable. Clara, let me explain, he finally managed, taking a step toward me. I took a step back, holding up a hand to stop his advance. Don't touch me. His hand froze in the air, a look of manufactured hurt on his face. I thought it was a prank call. You know how many scams there are these days? Oh? I raised an eyebrow. Is it common for prank callers to tell you to let your wife die? That's not what I meant, he said, his voice rising with anxiety. I panicked. I spoke without thinking. Panicked, I repeated, studying his face as if I were seeing him for the first time. Leo, we have been married for 3 years. Is that all I am worth to you? A moment of panic? A thoughtless phrase? No, Clara, believe me, I love you, he pleaded, trying to reach for me again. Just then, Lily let out a sharp cry and collapsed onto the floor, clutching her stomach. Ah, my stomach, it hurts so much. Leo's attention was immediately diverted. He rushed to her side, gathering her into his arms with a look of genuine panic and fear I had never seen him direct toward me. Lily, what's wrong? Don't scare me. Leo, my stomach hurts, she sobbed into his chest, her face contorted in pain. Our baby. Baby. The word buzzed in my head, drowning out everything else. 2 years. 2 years of drinking bitter herbal medicines, of enduring invasive tests, of facing disappointment after every single checkup. And through it all, his gentle reassurances echoed in my memory. It's okay, Clara. We're not in a rush. I love you, with or without a child. Those words, once a source of comfort, now felt like 1,000 tiny knives, slowly twisting in my heart. Leo swept Lily up in his arms and rushed past me toward the door. As he went, he threw a final venomous threat over his shoulder. Clara, if anything happens to Lily, I will never forgive you. Then he was gone, without a single backward glance. I stood alone in the vast, empty living room, a chill seeping deep into my bones. It wasn't just a betrayal. They had a child together. And I, the fool, had been kept completely in the dark, dutifully swallowing bitter concoctions for 2 years to conceive a child for him. He had been there with me for every doctor's appointment, holding me and offering gentle comfort when the results were negative. Looking back, I could see the web of lies he had so carefully woven. Those medical reports were probably tampered with from the very beginning. My phone vibrated, pulling me from my thoughts. It was a text from Mr. Wang. Miss, we've confirmed it. Lily is registered at Renee Hospital's Obstetrics and Gynecology Department. She is 8 weeks pregnant. Renee Hospital. It was the same hospital where I had been going for all my fertility treatments. And Leo's old college roommate happened to be the head of that very department. All the pieces clicked into place, forming a sickeningly clear picture. I slowly walked to the sofa and sank into its cushions. This home, which I once considered my sanctuary, was nothing more than an elaborate cage. I picked up my phone and dialed my father. Dad, it's me. His voice came through the line, steady and calm. Have you made up your mind? I have. Hockey, I said firmly. I want a divorce, and I want the 30% of the Lin Group's shares back. The shares had been my mother's legacy to me. When I married Leo, my father had transferred them to him, framing it as a way to train him and give him a foothold in the company's core management. Done, my father agreed without hesitation. I'll have the lawyers prepare the paperwork tomorrow. And Clara, he added, his voice turning colder, I am sending you the financial reports on Leo and Lily from the past several years, along with evidence of their collusion. It should be in your email shortly. One more thing, I said, pausing for a moment. I won't let either of them off easily. There was a brief silence on the other end. Lily is still your sister, he said, his voice neutral. She stopped being my sister the moment she chose to betray me, I replied. My father let out a long sigh. Do as you see fit. After ending the call, I looked out at the dark, flowing river beyond the window. A strange sense of calm settled over me. This was not the end. This was just the beginning. The next day, I stayed home from the office. My father's legal team was incredibly efficient. By mid-morning, a courier delivered both the divorce agreement and the equity transfer documents. I signed my name on the designated lines and left the papers on the coffee table to await Leo's return. He didn't come back until noon, looking haggard and exhausted, with dark circles under his eyes. He saw me sitting on the sofa and stopped for a moment before cautiously approaching. His tone was softer now, conciliatory. Clara, are you still upset? I was wrong last night. I was too anxious. How is Lily? I asked, my voice as level as if I were asking about the weather. He seemed momentarily thrown off by my calmness. She's fine, he replied. The doctor said it was a minor scare. She just needs to rest. That's good to hear. He clearly hadn't expected this reaction and seemed unsure how to proceed. Clara, I know what I did was wrong. I shouldn't have shouted at you, but Lily, she's carrying my child. I can't just abandon her. He spoke with a bizarre sort of righteousness, as if I were the one who had been unfaithful. I looked at him, and the entire situation struck me as profoundly ridiculous. Leo, let's get a divorce. I slid the documents across the coffee table toward him. His eyes fell on the bold letters of the divorce agreement, and his expression hardened instantly. I'm not signing it, he said without a second's thought. Clara, I love you. I can't live without you. What happened with Lily was a moment of weakness. I swear I'll cut off all contact with her. Cut off all contact? I echoed. And what about the child she's carrying? He was silent for a moment, cornered. I'll give her money, he said desperately, as if making a great sacrifice. She can have an abortion. I'll send her abroad and she'll never have to be in our lives again. Looking at his duplicitous face filled me with a deep, cold disgust. That won't be necessary, I said. You will leave with nothing, and then you and she are free to be together. He laughed, a harsh, disbelieving sound. Leave with nothing? Clara, have you forgotten? 30% of the Lynn Group's shares are in my name. What gives you the right to tell me to leave with nothing? In response, I took out my phone again and played a different recording, my conversation with Mr. Wang. The chairman has given his orders. If your husband dares to refuse, we were to dispose of him immediately. The color drained completely from Leo's face. He sank onto the sofa, staring at me as if I were some kind of monster. You and your father, you set me up. You were the one who walked into the trap, I replied, standing up to look down on him. Sign it, Leo. Otherwise, I can't predict what my father might do next. He looked at me, his eyes a toxic mix of fear, resentment, and hatred. He picked up the pen, his hand shaking so violently he could barely hold it. He scribbled his name on the divorce agreement and then on the equity transfer documents. After he finished, he threw the pen down on the table, all the fight seeming to drain out of him. You're a ruthless woman, Clara. Not as ruthless as you, I said calmly. You were the one who wanted me dead. He had no response to that. Now you can get out, I said, gesturing toward the door. He stood up and staggered away. At the doorway, he turned back for one last look. You will regret this, he spat. I didn't bother to reply. As soon as he was gone, I called Mr. Wang. I need someone to follow him. Let me know where he goes. Half an hour later, Mr. Wang called back. Miss, he went to Renee Hospital. Just as I expected, he couldn't stay away from his precious Lily and their child. I changed my clothes and drove to the hospital myself. When I arrived at her room, the door was slightly ajar, and I could hear them arguing inside. What do you mean you divorced her and left with nothing? Lily's voice was sharp and shrill. Leo, are you an idiot? Did you forget our entire plan? What choice did I have? Leo's voice was heavy with defeat. Her father found out about us. He set a trap for me. If I hadn't signed those papers, I might not even be alive right now. Then what about our baby? What about the company we started? All the money we invested? Lily shrieked. That was everything we had. Keep your voice down, Leo hissed. The most important thing right now is to keep Clara calm. Once this all blows over, I'll find a way to get the shares back. Get them back? You think it's that easy? Lily sneered. Do you honestly believe Clara is the same naive fool you used to manipulate? She's out for blood now. Then what do you want me to do? The sharp sound of a slap echoed from the room. Lily must have hit him. You useless piece of trash, she seethed. If you weren't smart enough to help me get my hands on the Lynn group, I never would have wasted my time with a social climber like you. Lily, that's enough. Is it? Let's be clear, Leo. You have nothing now. What leverage do you possibly think you have over me? I stood outside the door, listening to their sordid little drama, and felt absolutely nothing. I pushed the door open and walked in. The argument stopped abruptly. Lily was lying on the hospital bed, tear stains on her cheeks, a flicker of panic in her eyes. Leo was holding his face where she had slapped him, looking at me with deep embarrassment. Don't mind me, I said, pulling a chair over and sitting down. Please don't let me interrupt your discussion. Lily bit her lip and said nothing. Leo's face cycled through shades of red and white. Clara, what are you doing here? He asked. I came to visit my dear sister, I said, putting a slight emphasis on the word dear, and to hear a little more about your ambitious plans. You heard everything? Lily asked, her voice trembling. Not quite everything, I said with a thin smile. Why don't you fill me in? You could start with when this all began. Or maybe you could tell me about this new company of yours. Neither of them spoke. That's fine, I said, getting to my feet. I have plenty of time to find out for myself. I walked over to Lily's bed, and she shrank back instinctively. Don't be afraid, I leaned in and whispered in her ear. I won't do anything to you. After all, the child you're carrying is Leo's only heir. I straightened up and looked at Leo. You should take good care of her. She's your only hope now. With that, I turned and walked out of the room. The moment I was in the hallway, I was on the phone with Mr. Wang. I need you to investigate a company, probably started by Leo and Lily in the last year or so. Also, contact the media. I want their story to be public knowledge within 24 hours. I left the hospital and drove to the Lynn Group headquarters. The sunlight felt harsh on my eyes. From this day forward, things were going to change. I went directly to my father's office. He was practicing Tai Chi by the large floor-to-ceiling window. He saw me enter and slowly finished his movements. Is it settled? He asked. Yes, I nodded. The divorce is signed and the shares have been transferred back. Did that boy Leo give you any trouble? He wouldn't dare. My father smiled and poured me a cup of tea. I always knew he was all ambition and no substance. I looked at him directly. Dad, did you know about him and Lily the whole time? He didn't confirm or deny it. Clara, you are my daughter. I would never let anyone harm you. A man like Leo, with more ambition than ability, was always going to be a liability. Then why didn't you tell me sooner? Even if I had told you, he countered, would you have believed me? You were ready to cut ties with me just to marry him. I fell silent. He was right. I had been so blinded by what I thought was love that I had ignored everyone's warnings and walked straight into the trap Leo had set for me. And what about Lily? I asked. What are your plans for her? She is your sister, he repeated the same line from before. She caused me harm. She didn't act like my sister. My voice was cold. Dad, stay out of this. I will handle her myself. My father looked at me, his expression unreadable. After a long moment, he nodded. You've grown up. Leaving his office, I called an emergency meeting of all the company executives. I stood before them and made two announcements. First, that I had divorced Leo Shen and that all of his shares in the company had been returned to me. Second, that effective immediately, I was assuming the role of CEO with full responsibility for the company's operations. A murmur went through the room. Most of these executives were old-timers who had built the company alongside my father. They were naturally skeptical of me, the young woman who had seemingly appeared out of nowhere. My cousin John, who was a vice president and had long coveted the CEO position, was the first to speak. "President Lin," he said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, "you've only just taken over. Are you sure you can handle such a significant responsibility without being familiar with the day-to-day business?" "Whether I can handle it is not for you to decide, Vice President," I said, meeting his gaze evenly. "This company does not belong to me alone. It belongs to everyone in this room. With your support, I am confident the Lin Group will continue to thrive." "Of course," I added, my tone hardening slightly. "If anyone feels I am not up to the task or if their loyalties lie elsewhere, they are free to resign. I won't stop them. We have no place for idlers and certainly no place for traitors." My gaze swept across the room. The executives were silent. John's expression was grim. I knew this was only the first challenge. To secure my position, I would have to prove myself with results. After the meeting, Mr. Wang called. "Miss, we found it. The company is called Yedong Technology. It was registered 6 months ago. Lily is the legal representative, but Leo is the actual controlling shareholder. Their office is in the building directly across from ours." "What is their line of business?" I asked. "It overlaps almost perfectly with our bid for the West City Smart City project." I understood immediately. They had planned all along to hollow out the Lin Group from the inside and start their own venture. The West City project was our company's highest priority, a massive investment of time and resources. If they managed to steal it, the blow to our company could be catastrophic. "Mr. Wang," I said, lowering my voice, "I have a few tasks for you." I gave him his instructions. After hanging up, I looked out the window at the building across the street where Yedong Technology was housed. A plan began to form in my mind. "Leo, Lily, your game is over." The next morning, I went to work as usual. Shortly after I arrived, my assistant burst into my office, her face pale. "Miss Lin, something terrible has happened. The core technical proposal for our West City project has been leaked." "Leaked?" I asked, feigning surprise. "This morning, Yedong Technology published their proposal on their website. It's identical to ours." I opened my browser and navigated to their site. It was true, their proposal was a near-perfect copy of ours, from the architecture down to the implementation details. And they had published it 2 hours before our scheduled release. To the outside world, it looked as if we had plagiarized them. The office phones began ringing incessantly. Partners, shareholders, and the media were all demanding an explanation. Panic began to spread through the company. John was the first to storm into my office, slamming a newspaper down on my desk. "Clara, look at this mess. You've been in charge for less than a week and you've already driven the company into the ground." The front page headline read, "Lin Group embroiled in plagiarism scandal, century-old reputation at risk." I glanced at the paper and tossed it aside. "Why are you so agitated, John? The situation is still developing. You're awfully quick to assign blame." "What is there to investigate?" he sputtered, pointing at my computer screen. "The proof is right there. The entire industry is laughing at us." "Are they?" I smiled faintly. "Then perhaps we should give them something more to talk about." I called my father and asked him to use his connections to have the police open an investigation into Leo for corporate espionage, ensuring all the evidence would be in place before I made my next move. Then I had my assistant schedule a press conference. The news sent another shockwave through the company. My executives were aghast. "Miss Lin, are you crazy? A press conference now is suicide. We should be handling this internally, finding the source of the leak." John was practically vibrating with rage. "Clara, you're going to destroy this family." I ignored their protests and walked into the conference room, which was already swarming with reporters. The constant flash of cameras was blinding. I took my place at the podium. The questions came in a torrent. "Miss Lin, how do you explain plagiarizing Yedong Technology's proposal? As an industry leader, why would the Lin Group resort to such tactics? Was the leak connected to your ex-husband, Mr. Shen, and the recent breakdown of your marriage?" I held up a hand, and a hush fell over the room. "I've called you here today to clarify one thing," I said, my voice clear and steady through this microphone. "The Lin Group did not plagiarize anyone." A reporter shouted from the back, "Are you suggesting Yedong Technology plagiarized you?" "That is correct." "Do you have any proof?" "As we understand it, they published their plan first." "Of course, I have proof." I clicked a button on the remote in my hand, and a document appeared on the large screen behind me. This is the patent certificate for the core technology in our West City proposal, which the Lin Group filed for 3 months ago. The patent number and application date are clearly visible. Yedong Technology has only existed for 6 months. I would like to ask them how they independently developed a technology that we patented before they were even a company. The room was stunned into silence. Every eye was fixed on the patent certificate. I continued. "As for how Yedong obtained our plans, I believe that is a question for its actual controlling shareholder, my ex-husband, Mr. Leo Shen. As a former executive of this company, Mr. Shen abused his position to steal trade secrets, colluding with his lover, who also happens to be my younger sister, Miss Lily Lin, to undermine the Lin Group. We have irrefutable evidence of this, and we have already filed a report with the police." I clicked the remote again. A video began to play, the audio from Leo and Lily's argument in the hospital room. "Did you forget our entire plan? Once this all blows over, I'll find a way to get the shares back. If you weren't smart enough to help me get my hands on the Lin Group, I never would have wasted my time with a social climber like you." Every word was crystal clear. The conference room erupted into chaos. Corporate warfare, a broken marriage, sibling betrayal. It was a media firestorm. As I looked out at the sea of flashing cameras, I felt a cold resolve settle in my heart. Leo, Lily. This was only the beginning. The press conference had an immediate and dramatic effect. Public opinion shifted overnight. The Lin Group was no longer the villain, but the victim. Yedong Technology's website was flooded with furious comments and crashed under the traffic. Their stock price plummeted, losing nearly a third of its value in a single day. Leo and Lily became reviled public figures. The police acted swiftly, arresting Leo on suspicion of corporate espionage. Lily, due to her pregnancy, was placed under house arrest. My mother called me, screaming and crying into the phone. "Clara, have you no heart? She's your sister. How could you do this to her?" "Mom," I said, cutting her off. "When she and Leo were plotting against me, did she think of me as her sister?" "She was just confused. She was tricked by that monster, Leo. Why can't you find it in your heart to forgive her?" "Forgive her?" I let out a dry, humorless laugh. "Mom, did you know that when Leo told the kidnappers to kill me, Lily was right there with him? Did you know she became pregnant while I was spending 2 years drinking foul medicine trying to conceive? Did you know the money they used to start their company was money I gave Leo to give to you as a gift?" With each question, my mother's breathing became more ragged. "Enough! Stop it!" she shrieked. "No matter what, you can't push her to the edge. She is carrying a child." "That child is Leo's, not mine. She made her choices, and now she has to live with them," I said. "How could I have raised such a cold, heartless daughter?" she sobbed, and then the line went dead. I stood there holding the silent phone, feeling nothing. They were the ones who had made me this way. That afternoon, John knocked on my office door. The arrogance was gone, replaced with a grudging respect. "President Lin," he began, hesitating. I misjudged you. Please accept my apology." "We all want what's best for the company, John," I said, looking up from my work. "Yes, of course." He nodded eagerly. "Your strategy was brilliant. You cleared the company's name and eliminated a competitor in one move. Absolutely brilliant." I offered a non-committal smile. "The West City project will still require your full attention and hard work." "Absolutely, I will give it my all, I promise." After he left, I leaned back in my chair, a wave of exhaustion washing over me. This battle was won, but the war wasn't over. As long as Lily and my mother were around, there would be no real peace. A few days later, they proved me right. They showed up at the company while I was in the middle of a major project meeting. My mother threw the doors open and stormed in, with a heavily disguised Lily trailing behind her. "Clara, come out here this instant!" my mother yelled, her hands on her hips, looking more like a street brawler than the refined woman she usually portrayed. Everyone in the room stared. I frowned. Mom, I'm in a meeting. We can talk later. I can't wait. She marched toward me, pointing a finger in my face. You are coming with me to the hospital right now to bring your sister home. Home? I asked coldly. Whose home? Yours or mine? Our home, of course. My home has no place for an adulteress and her illegitimate child. My words were like a slap. My mother trembled with fury and raised her hand to strike me. I didn't flinch. Before it could land, my father's hand shot out and caught her wrist. I hadn't even seen him arrive. He stood behind her, his face dark with anger. Have you made enough of a scene? He growled. Have you no shame? Shame? My mother screeched, pulling her hand free. Look at the fine daughter you raised. No sense of family. She's trying to kill her own sister. She brought it on herself, my father retorted. My mother was speechless with rage. Lily stood by, trembling, and took off her sunglasses to reveal a tear-streaked face. Dad, sister, I know I was wrong. Please forgive me, she whimpered, starting to sink to her knees before me. I stepped aside. I don't deserve such a gesture, I said flatly. She grabbed at my sleeve, sobbing. Please, for the baby's sake, forgive me. He can't grow up without a father. The fact that this child might grow up without a father is your responsibility, not mine, I said, pulling my arm away. Lily, stop the act. It's pathetic. Clara, my mother shrieked again. How can you speak to her that way? How should I speak to her? I shot back. Should I congratulate her on being pregnant with my ex-husband's child? Wish them a long and happy life together? You're being completely unreasonable. No, you're the one who is unreasonable. I finally let my own anger show. One of you uses her daughter as a pawn to get family money. The other uses her sister as a stepping stone. You two deserve each other. My father's face was like stone. He signaled to the bodyguards behind him, who stepped forward and flanked my mother and Lily. Get them out of here, he ordered, his voice devoid of all warmth. And from now on, they are not to set foot in this building without my permission. My mother struggled and screamed, but the bodyguards were firm. They escorted both of them out of the conference room, their protests fading down the hall. A heavy silence fell over the room. I took a deep breath and sat back down. Let's continue the meeting. Life became much quieter after that. We won the West City project, and the company's operations stabilized and began to grow under my leadership. Leo's case went to trial. Between the corporate espionage and additional evidence Mr. Wang uncovered of embezzlement and kickbacks, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. I didn't go to the sentencing. Mr. Wang told me that Leo kept searching the courtroom gallery, but no one he was looking for, not me, not my father, not my mother, and not Lily, was there. He had been abandoned by everyone. Lily received a suspended sentence, given that she was an accomplice and had a newborn. She and my mother moved back into the old Lin family residence. I heard she gave birth to a boy. My mother was apparently overjoyed, doting on her grandson as if his arrival could wash away all of Lily's sins. They tried to contact me several times, likely hoping I would help them for the child's sake, but I never responded. My father didn't interfere, allowing them to live in the old house, but otherwise ignoring them. I poured all my energy into work, earning the nickname the Iron Lady in the business world for my decisive and formidable leadership. I thought that chapter of my life was closed until I received an unexpected phone call. It was Leo's mother, my former mother-in-law. Clara, it's Mom, she said, her voice old and hesitant. I was silent for a moment, trying to place the voice. I had only met her once, at my wedding. She was a quiet, timid woman from the countryside. Leo had always said her health was poor and she wasn't suited to city life. Is there something you need? I asked, my tone polite but distant. Clara, dear, she began to cry. I know Leo did you wrong. He's a terrible person and he's getting what he deserves, but I'm begging you. For the short time we were family, could you please come see him? He's not going to make it. I frowned. What's wrong with him? He has cancer, she sobbed. Terminal. The doctor says it's only a matter of days. He wants to see you one last time. I felt nothing for Leo anymore, not love, not hate. His life or death was of no consequence to me. But her pleading was desperate. And for some reason, I agreed. Send me the address. The hospital was a small facility on the outskirts of the city. I found Leo in a bleak room, looking like a skeleton. He was so gaunt and frail that I almost didn't recognize him. When he saw me, a flicker of light entered his dull eyes, and he struggled to sit up. "You're here," he rasped, his voice a dry rattle. I stood by the door. "You wanted to see me." He managed a weak, ugly smile. "I just wanted to see you again," he said, before dissolving into a violent coughing fit. I watched dispassionately. "I've seen enough," I said, turning to leave. "Wait!" he called out urgently. "Lily, she sold the child." I stopped. "What did you say?" "She said the baby was a burden," he panted, each word an effort. "She sold him to traffickers, took the money, and ran off with some man she met." He looked at me, his eyes filled with a venomous despair. "She's not human. She'll get what's coming to her. She will." He started coughing again, a deep, rattling sound. "My mother went to confront her, and the man she was with beat her. My mother is an old woman." "Clara," he looked at me, a pathetic plea in his eyes. "I know I have no right to ask you for anything, but that child, he's your nephew. Please, help me find him." The irony was staggering. They had justified their affair for the sake of this child, and now that child was just an inconvenience to be discarded. "Leo," I said, shaking my head. "That child's life was a tragedy from the moment he was conceived. The people who caused that tragedy were you and Lily. You destroyed your own lives, and you destroyed his. Now you want me to clean up your mess? Why should I—" I walked out without looking back, his mother's heartbroken sobs echoing behind me. I called Mr. Wang. 3 days later, he had the full story. Lily had sold her son to an underground trafficking ring and fled the country with a new boyfriend. When my father found out, he used his influence to freeze all her overseas accounts. Her boyfriend promptly abandoned her, leaving her penniless and stranded in a foreign country. She tried desperately to contact me for help, but I ignored her calls. Mr. Wang had also tracked down the child. The trafficking ring was planning to sell him on a cruise ship in international waters in 3 days. "Miss, what are your orders?" he asked. "Call the police," I said. "But miss," he hesitated, "the family's reputation." "I don't care," I interrupted. "Lily broke the law. She will face the consequences. As for the child," I paused, "he is innocent. All I can do for him is ensure he is returned to a normal world, not sold like property." 3 days later, an international police operation dismantled the trafficking ring. All the children, including Lily's son, were rescued. Because his parents could not be located, he was placed in a state welfare institution. An international warrant was issued for Lily's arrest. Leo died the day after he learned his son was safe. Only his elderly mother was with him at the end. My own mother spent 2 months in the hospital and came out a broken woman, her hair completely white, her spirit gone. She just sits by the window all day now. The one time I went to see her, she held my hand and kept repeating, "Clara, I was wrong. I'm so sorry." I didn't forgive her, but I didn't condemn her either. I simply ensured she was well cared for. My father seems to have let go of the past. He handed over most of the company to me and now travels the world, sending me photographs from his journeys with notes on the back. "Clara, your father is proud of you. As for me, I am still President Lin. My days are filled with meetings and decisions, but I no longer feel burdened. I am protecting the life I have built for myself. On weekends, I sometimes visit the welfare home to see the boy. He looks like Leo but has Lily's eyes. I've never told him who I am. I am just an anonymous donor who funds his education and living expenses. I want him to have a chance to grow up free from the shadows of his parents. What he makes of his life will be his choice alone.